Hey guys, it's John here from Sonic Drive Studio. Thank you so much for tuning into the channel, and I hope you're all having a great day. In this quick video, I'd like to address something that has come up after posting my latest video, which was a video in which I played my favorite guitar. I made a couple of riffs and I reamped those riffs through all my guitar amps, so that's 22 guitar tube amplifiers. And as a bonus, I also reamped those riffs through 3 of the best guitar amp modelers. If you haven't seen that video, do check it out. I'll post a link in the description below and also a link up here as well. With that video, I just wanted to have some fun and share that fun with you guys. I had a lot of fun making that video and I also really enjoyed reading your comments. It was basically meant as an amplifier showcase rather than a very scientific comparison, but despite that, I still think it served very well as an amplifier comparison. Before we go on, I'd like to take a moment to thank all my subscribers. Thank you so much for your support, your encouragement, and for your comments. It really means a lot. This week my channel has reached 10,000 subscribers, so that's a huge amount for me. I can't say thank you enough, so thank you so much for the support, and I hope you'll come back to this channel because I'll be making a lot more videos in the future. Now, one thing that came up in the comments of the previous video was that all my amplifiers sound the same. At first it was a little puzzling for me why that happened, because all my amplifiers, to my ears, sound pretty different from one another. And I felt that in the video that was pretty clear, also when I listened back to the video on YouTube itself. So for this video, what I've done is I've taken 4 of the amplifiers from the previous video and I've put the segments side by side, so right next to each other. This should help for you to hear the differences between the amplifiers much more clearly. I took the exact same segments from the previous video, so I did not change anything when it comes to processing. First, let's listen to these 4 amplifiers in full band context, just as in the previous video, and then after that you'll get to hear the same segments again, but this time isolated, so the drums and the bass will be off. Let's take a listen and we'll talk about the results after. Okay, so again I heard some pretty big differences between the amplifiers. Could you also? Please let me know in the comments, as I'd love to know your thoughts. If you had a hard time recognizing the differences between the amplifiers, perhaps try again and listen for one of these characteristics. 1. The overall EQ balance. The Mesa Boogie Dual Rectifier has a much more scooped sound, whereas the 6505 or the JMP1 have a much more mid-focused sound. With the dual rectifier, you will hear more emphasis on the high end, so sort of the fizz that people like to call it, and the low end. And with the other two that I just mentioned, there's a lot more information in the mid-range. 2. The gain character and the gain amount. The orange Brent Hines, for example, has a lot less gain than the other amps. And the distortion character is a lot more sort of dry and raspy. It sounds more vintage than the others. And 3, low end tightness. The 6505 and JMP1 both have a pretty solid and tight low end, whereas the dual rectifier and the Brent Hines have a much more looser low end. With loose, I mean that the low end sounds a bit more flubby, as a lot of people like to call it. So the attack of the low end is a lot less direct and punchy. It's a bit more saggy and compressed. There are more things to listen for, but you should get a pretty good idea of the differences between the amplifiers with these 3 characteristics. Now the next thing is very important. To hear the differences between the amplifiers clearly, you'll have to listen through studio monitors or good headphones. Telephone or tablet speaker simply won't do. Those speakers are not designed for such a thing. But studio monitors and good headphones are. So please keep that in mind. Now I'd like to add one more thing before I go. And that is that of course in a test like this there will always be similarities between the amplifiers, simply for a multitude of reasons. Some of the most important ones are the fact that it's me playing the guitar all the time. Secondly, it's the same guitar all the time. Third, it's the same take you're hearing all the time because I reamped that take through all the amplifiers, so I played it only once, so it's played exactly the same each time. 4, the backing track is the same each time, so the drums and the bass don't change over the segments. And of course the pickups on a guitar have a huge impact on the guitar tone, and that factor of course doesn't change over the segments as well. So yes, the actual amplifier does change between all the segments, but all the other factors that I just mentioned, they don't change, they stay the same. So yeah, of course there will be similarities between each segment. And of course some amps will sound more similar to each other than others. For example, the Ironheart 60 by Laney and the IRT Studio, they both share basically the same preamp, so they're bound to sound pretty similar. Alright guys, I hope you enjoyed this video and I hope that it helps clear things up a little bit about my last video. Again, if you haven't seen that video, check it out via the description below. And don't forget to hit subscribe along with the notification bell, and you can also follow Sonic Drive Studio on Instagram and Facebook. Thank you so much and I'll see you in the next video. Cheers!